the other end.
Just want to take it.
Or maybe just against the wall. No, we're gonna lose him.
We'll sit there.
Do you want to sit there? Yeah. Yes, sure. Will that fit? It's this ain't gonna work. Should I just
Are you trying to hide that stuff?
I am. That's not hiding it. Here, just move it up. Yeah, because when we take pictures, I almost see boxes. Or just. Is that good?
Yeah.
You need to leave it.
I sure am not.
Testing. I used to remember how to do this.
Let me see. Is it on?
Well, it's on, but we've got to make sure.
Want to call him?
Don't be. Hold on.
Which one? Oh, the one on this. Hello. Good evening, everybody. You can hear me okay? So thank you. Laurie doesn't trust me with the technical. She's telling me don't touch anything down there. Just use this mic for now. So I'll use this for now.
Testing. I did both of them. Did all of them.
All right, we'll get started and we'll figure out how to use the mic. Welcome, everybody, to the African Leadership Group Education Summit. You are here. This is part of Afrik Impact Celebration. As you know, during the month of August, that's when we celebrate proudly and loudly the amazing contribution of the African diaspora in the state of Colorado. And since 2019, the governor of Colorado has issued a proclamation to recognize the month of August as the African Immigrant Month. So this is something that we are very, very proud of. My name is Papa. I'm the founder and executive director of the African Leadership Group. I just want to take a couple of minutes for those of you that might be joining us for the first time about the African Leadership Group event, to give you a little bit of background about the organization, what we do, and also talk about what we're going to be discussing today. So the organization been around for about 17 years that primarily focus on facilitating the professional integration of the African diaspora through social impact, economic impact, and educational impact. We pride ourselves of being that organization that's always meeting the community where they have their needs. So those three pillars are very, very vital to everything that we do. Social impact, because as immigrants, when we come here, we need usually somebody that pick us from the airport, that hosts us, that really help us navigate the immigration system. So that's very important. So that's why it's one of the pillars that we focus on. Economic impact is one of the main reasons, not the only reason, but usually we left Africa to seek opportunities to support ourselves and support the families that we left behind, i.e. Looking for a job and things like that. And until now, I can guarantee you every single African immigrant is still sending money back home to support the family. So it's very important. Educational impact, because as a community, we believe that education is the key that unlocks doors of opportunities. Everything that you are doing in life and looking to be successful, education is very important. And we're not just talking about college education. There's different type of education, and we value every single one of them. So as an organization, we have 13 pillars. Now, one thing that's important if you're joining us and you're trying to figure out how can I help, how can I get involved, there's a couple of things that we believe in firmly. One of them is, if you are a smart person in Africa, wherever else you go, you're still a smart person. It's not because you speak English with an accent that you are less of a person than anybody else, right? And the second thing is, we believe that if you are not at the table, you are on the menu. So everything that we do is catered around putting community members to have a seat at the table and with their voice. Now, we know as immigrants, we cannot do that by ourselves. So that's why we are a very inclusive organization. We are all about partnership and collaboration. So if you walk in here, figure out how can I join this amazing family. We have 13 committees, from leadership, from public speaking, entrepreneurship, education, parents. So you can serve on those committees to help us push forward the agenda of the organization, which we believe in that the agenda of every single community. So this is our 8th edition of Afrik Impact, and every year Afrik Impact comes with a theme. This year the theme is breaking barriers and building bridges among all people. All of us, we witness how, as a nation, we've been divided for whatever reason, right? So people always try us to isolate us, like Africans supposed to be this way and be only on this side. As a community, as an organization, we believe that we are all human beings. We all came from God, and we all love each other and appreciate each other. So we decided not to sit on the sideline and do our part. Our part is to bring people, and we can celebrate and learn from each other. That's why this year's theme was breaking barriers and building bridges. Now, if you've been around the organization, you know we are a very action-oriented organization. When we talk about certain things, we get up and we do something about it. So the theme being breaking barriers and building bridges, we brought in 7 different communities, right? The Jewish community, Caucasian community, Black community, African immigrant, Native American, Latino, and Asian. And we all work on a unity poem called I Am the Bridge. So some of you had a chance to see that poem being performed live on Saturday. If you haven't had a chance, go on YouTube and look us up, and that will transform you and transform you as a person. And we invite you to join the movement of togetherness. Now, when we talk about togetherness, there's another area where we need it more than anywhere else when it comes to the education of our children. It's the same exact thing, and that's what we're going to be talking about. But before we get there, I would like to take a moment to really thank the partners that we have that join us on this journey. And one of them is the Arvada Center. Philip, if you could stand up and give this man a round of applause. Amazing partnership we have with the Arvada Center, and just great partnership. And for me, I just want other organizations to learn from this genuine partnership, right? Because when we talk about collaboration, you gotta be willing to give some of your space to the other person, and that's what you've done and with the people. Thank you so much, Philip. We appreciate that. So, and all this wouldn't be possible without all these amazing sponsors that we have. We have some of them here tonight with us. We have Chase Bank is here, First Bank, and I know I'm going to miss some, but the Denver Botanic Garden. But just know, if you are a sponsor, we appreciate you, and this wouldn't be possible without your support. So this evening, the theme of the Education Forum is Here's Now, a call to action for safety and excellence in our school. And as an organization, as a community, we've seen it where quite often when we talk about the education of our children, the kids or our children or the youth, they're not included into the conversation. And everything we do around education is for them, it's about them. We felt like it's about time that we hear from them. So how are we going to hear from them? So I'm not the expert, so the man that I'm about to introduce to you, not only I'm just proud of him, but the entire community, we are all proud of him because of his dedication, his commitment, being an African immigrant himself, coming here at a young age, going through the school system, facing all the challenges that our children are facing now. As an immigrant, parents came here, did not go to school, couldn't speak English. So this young man learned how to navigate the system, was able to graduate from college and did amazing things. And now he is somebody that we call a leader in our community. So Uzi, just know this is just, I mean, I'm always amazed with your commitment and your cause to see you as somebody that I used to mentor, and now the roles are reversed. So you are my mentor and I'm the mentee. So we all learn from you, and we appreciate you for all the work that you do. Please help me welcome Usman Ba. Thank you.
I don't even think, can you guys hear me? I don't even think I'm a young man anymore. I see gray hair starting coming in. But awesome, thank you, Papa, appreciate that. Good evening, everyone. As Papa mentioned, my name is Usman Ba. I go by Uzi around here. I am the education coordinator here with the African Leadership Group, and I'm ecstatic about what's about to happen tonight. We have our amazing youth that's going to be joining us here, and really sometimes that's the forgotten voice in all of this in the education space. As Papa mentioned, if this is your first time joining us, welcome. Please do not let the name fool you. The African Leadership Group, we welcome all nations, all backgrounds, and everybody's welcome here. As he said, we're breaking barriers this year. And he mentioned the three pillars that we have here: education impact and social impact and economic impact. And today, as mentioned, is primarily focused on education impact. Really, a lot of times as immigrants, when we come here, we have a language barrier. We have a barrier of communicating. And a lot of times as parents, we come here and we think America might have the best education system just because of the opportunities that's available. But not knowing how to navigate that education system could put you in a loss in this system. And another one is a cultural barrier as well. And another one is a difficulty navigating the system. And to be clear, education is is very important to all of us. And as someone who's been in the community for the past 4 years, working and talking to parents, students, and families, I've learned there's a lot of issues that parents are dealing with coming out of the pandemic: learning loss, transportation, school safety, as we will touch on, curriculum, and so many underlying issues, school closures. And I think it's very important that tonight we get everybody together. We have our youth, we have our parents, we have elected officials, school board members here joining us. And I think the first step is really having that conversation with all of us here. And I'm ecstatic for tonight. As I mentioned already, is really please take the time to learn and listen to the kids, because they're dealing with this every day and for all of us being here, we've navigated the education system, some of us, and for our parents that are learning how to how to deal with our kids that are here as immigrants, as parents, and understanding the two different education systems we left back home and that's here. And sometimes some of us don't even know how to communicate with our kids' teachers, our kids' schools. And it's very important, as we have admin in here, we have some teachers in here, to have that conversation. And tonight, I really want us, again, just to listen with intent, and be part of that conversation. At the end of the panel, we'll have a conversation. It will be an open conversation for all of us to join. So, and I want you to please take notes from the kids as elected officials. We have the Colorado Education Board here as well. Please just listen. And that's all we ask of you tonight. And we got a lot to cover tonight, and we've got the right people in this space tonight. We have the parents, as I mentioned, we have the students, and we have the school board members here. And today you all will hear and observe from all these people how most impacted, talking about lived experiences. And again, listening to those lived experiences. And again, thank you all for joining us today. If you're online, watching from Facebook, for parents in here, students in here, again, just listen with intent and be part of that solution, because right now, I'm scared. I am, to tell you the honest truth, what's going on in APS, DPS, even Cherry Creek. And I want us to help our kids and help the community, and us, all of us, to be part of that conversation. Everybody has a piece of that puzzle to play. So it's very important that we listen to each other. Again, and before we start, I want to just give a thank the Parent Engagement Committee for putting this together. If you're part of the Parent Engagement Committee, can you please stand up for me? And give them a round of applause. Awesome. Thank you. And also, I want to give a big shout out to the ALG team from Papa, and a special shout out to Mama Bear. I don't know where she at. If you guys see all the beautiful designs downstairs, everything that's this look, this wow factor, is all because of her and the volunteers, Auntie Cherry, and everybody here. Again, thank you again for being part of this. She said, like usual, right? Exactly. And the next person I want to introduce is the chair of the committee. She's also a part of the family, and also been through the process, the public speaking class, Leadership Africa. And she was also the first African immigrant elected on the Aurora School Board. Many of you guys know her. She's a friend of mine. I call her my sister. And you guys already know her, Dr. Ann Keegan.
Good evening, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here. I am so honored to be before you. ALG has evolved, and we are taking education to the next level and even more seriously with our parent engagement group. I am proud to chair the parent engagement group. Yes, because I am a parent, not just a parent, but an African parent who has had to navigate this system, as Uzi has explained. And that's what has led my community, led by Papa Dia and the ALG community leaders, to force me to run. I didn't have a choice. I could not say no. It was not an ask, it was a told. So, inshallah, I ran and I did it. It's been a roller coaster because K-12 education is real in America. It is real when you have to navigate the language barrier. It is real when you have to navigate the system. And it is also real when you have to navigate the white cultural norm. But that's not why I'm here today. I want to take this moment to introduce our keynote speaker. He's an amazing person. He is a friend of mine. He is a mentor of mine. His name is President Omar Montgomery. But before I call him, let me give you his bio. Omar serves as Director of Equity, Culture, and community engagement for Cherry Creek Schools District. Omar continues to follow in his family footsteps by continuing to teach as an adjunct instructor for the University of Colorado, Denver. Omar has also continued in his family's tradition of strengthening the community. As a key stakeholder in Colorado's Transforming Safety Initiative, which created new economic opportunity for Northwest Aurora. He continues to work directly with the Aurora Police Department's Citizens Advisory Board and key community response team to improve law enforcement relationship with underprivileged communities. He is also board chairperson at the Village Exchange Center, a one-stop shop supporting integration, engagement, and empowerment of Aurora immigrant and refugee communities. Omar is currently in partnership with Visit Aurora to open the Aurora Economic Development Center. Yes, very soon we will have our own Economic Development Center, thanks to this man. And that Aurora Economic Development Center will have a workforce center, a co-working space, and a small business incubator for all Aurorian. Omar has his bachelor's in criminal justice and dual masters in education administration and public administration. He currently serves as president of the Aurora branch of the NAACP. He's a member of Aurora's Budget and Golf Commission. He's a proud family man. He's a father. He's a companion to his dog, Marley, and he is married to my very own sister, Regina Edmondson Montgomery. Please welcome my friend, my brother, my mentor, Omar Montgomery.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Before I start, gotta thank a few people. You know, Papa, you know, you more than family, you're a brother. And ALG is like my second family. When I talk about the African Leadership Group, it's more than just talking about an organization. It's talking about a part of me that I'm still exploring, that I'm still learning, and still growing into. So anytime I step in space in the African Leadership Group, I am at home. So right now, I am at home. I want to thank my wife for being here today and always supporting and making sure I'm on time and making sure I'm looking the part and all that great stuff. And to my mother for being here today, who gave me birth. And you'll probably hear a few of those stories as I talk. I won't be long, but definitely some growing up stories. To my Cherry Creek family, to my NAACP family, and to the community and fellow educators, thank you for being here today. Now let's get to why we're here. Safety and excellence. I don't know if I put an and in between, because if you have excellence, to me, you have safety. I'm going to repeat that. If you have excellence, then you have safety. And for me, it's about where I come from and how I was born and how I was groomed to do everything I do today. My mother, she don't know I'm gonna tell this story, was a bus driver. My father, an educator. Now, we were separate homes, but the co-parenting worked and everything was good. I used to have to catch the city bus, not a school bus, but the city bus to my high school and to my middle school. And my mother always said, come straight home. I'm going to repeat that. My mother always said, come straight home. This wasn't the time of cell phones. This wasn't the time of social media, meaning that when that home phone rang that sometimes dialed, sometimes was a push button, I better be in the house. And if the ring stops, I hope it rings again, because sometimes I only got one chance to answer that phone. My mother was instilling consistency, responsibility, and understanding that when you have these core values, good things can happen. My father was a college professor. He's retired now, enjoying life, playing golf, all those great things. What I learned from my father is that you invest in the community, or you invest in one person, you're actually investing in the community. My father saw in Compton, California, that kids had a little bit of a gap with their peers in regards to literacy, in regards to math, in regards to science. So my father said, hey, if you don't want to do a research paper, why don't you meet me at Compton Community College? We invite all of Compton Unified who wants to come, and they can receive free tutoring on Saturdays. And out of his pockets, he provided snacks. No federal grant, no state grant, no money whatsoever, just him seeing a need where kids needed support. See, excellence is what you invest in people. Excellence is what you invest in people. See, there's this man by the name of Dr. Glenn Singleton. For those who follow his work, he came up with this concept on how you discuss difficult topics, especially race, but you can apply it to other things. It's called the protocol. It's called the compass. It's in this book called Courageous Conversation. And there's 4 parts to the compass we're going to work through in order to understand this concept of safety and excellence. First is believing. See, I wake up every morning believing that every single kid can learn, but I always try to think, do every educator believe that? See, when you walk into a school, you're walking into a community. When you park, as soon as you park into a school, you in that community. If you're in the lunchroom, you in the community. If you're with kids, you're in the community. If you're warming up your lunch and you're sitting with other teachers, you're in the community. If you're with the custodial staff, you're in community. If you're with the public safety staff, you're in community. And if any of those break down in the belief that all kids can learn, there's a problem. All of them have to be engaged. See, if you believe in something and you're emotionally investing in it, you will make sure it's protected on all levels. What does that look like? See, when we talk about safety, we're talking about physical safety, emotional safety, virtual safety in this day and time. And that physical safety, I believe, is what some people think about every single day. As a parent, you send your child to school, you drop them off, you had a great conversation, and the only thing you ask is that the way you dropped your child off is the way I want my child to come home. See, I believe, once again, I'm in the belief stage, that we do all we can as a school to make sure our kids are safe. I work for Cherry Creek School District, and I know there's some improvement. I know DPS has improvement. I know Aurora Public Schools has improvement. But believe it or not, every single educator wakes up in the morning thinking about not only how am I going to teach my kids to learn, but how do I keep them safe? So even in our classrooms, we're thinking about it. We take that backpack home with us every single day. So when you drop your kid off, believe that even that SRO officer, the security guard, the teacher, the custodian, even the volunteers in the room, number one priority is for your kid to be safe. And see, as we step through this protocol, the next part is thinking. See, while we're thinking about safety, sometimes we neglect other parts of education because we're thinking about, okay, is the classroom safe, this, that, and the other. But now we have a literacy gap and a reading gap that we have to address. Part of it because of COVID, but it expanded after COVID. Because many kids didn't have the access or the resources they need when we shut down. And now we have some kids who are walking into school who are 2 and 3 grades behind. And see, while we're thinking about safety, yes, we have to think about safety, but there's some statistical data that say it's going to take 15 to 20 years for that gap to get narrow. Think about that. 15 to 20 years. I don't have 15 to 20 years to wait. So what do we do? See, I go back to my father. See, my father said, we'll just open up a free tutoring program. Well, I'm going to give a few things I think that could work. See, I believe your home is a university and you don't even know it. Your home is not just a school, your home is a university. You say, well, I don't have all these books, this, that, and the other. Believe it or not, every single thing you need to probably have a BA degree, a master's degree, a PhD sits right in your home. See, let's talk about how that works. How many of y'all baked the cake lately? Baked the cake? How many of y'all cooked and probably had to buy some things at the grocery store? How many of y'all watch TV? How many of you are on social media scrolling every 10 seconds looking for likes? Now, what about if you was to break that down to a lesson plan? What about if you would take the ingredients on the back of your book, or on the back of the cardboard box that the ingredients come in for baking, and break those words down, look those words up, and have a family discussion about it? What about you talking about your oral history? It doesn't have to be written down, and sharing it with your kids and ask them to begin to share their history. Now you got history going. What about when you cook? And maybe using that as a science project that you use the measurements to make sure that your meal is coming out even and perfect. What about when you go shopping and you're trying to teach financial literacy, science, math, money management? Don't tell me the university is not in your home. That's thinking. Now, kid hasn't even gotten to school yet. See, in our schools, we're doing all we can to fill the gap, but we need all hands on deck to level this thing and to get this number lower from 15 to 20 years to get that gap lower, that reading gap, that literacy gap. It's all hands on deck. If you just drop your kid off at school and you just say, hey, I expect a miracle to happen, then that's the wrong way to approach education. Now, we as teachers have to walk in there believing that every single kid can learn. I started teaching at Long Beach Unified School District. We're going to the feeling category. We did believing, we did thinking, now we're in feeling. My first teaching assignment was at Long Beach Jordan. That was the second one, but somewhat the first. Long Beach Jordan High School. I had something called the transition school because, you know, when you're young and you're motivated and you got all that energy and you ask for stuff, I said, I want the most challenging kids in the district. And they gave them to me with a smile. And and there was a new concept in the district called the transition school. And these are kids who were either about to be suspended or about to be expelled or coming back from court, coming back from juvenile hall, all these different things. I was their only teacher. I was their administrator. I was their counselor. I was their doctor. If I didn't show up to school, there was no school. We went to school from 2 to 6 p.m., and my classroom was under the auditorium, so if there was an evening performance, I could hear all the dancing and see all the people running through the dressing room and all that great stuff. In that basement where we taught, it wasn't about the physical space. It wasn't about the lack of resources we had from 2 to 6 because we didn't have access to everything in the school. It was about the belief of the educator in the room that all kids could learn. Them kids learned how to write APA writing style. Sophomores, freshmen, seniors. I never expelled or suspended one student. If that student was having a rough day, I said, look, why don't you go take a walk, come back. Or you could go home and come back tomorrow, but you're not being suspended, you're not being expelled, because I need you here every single day. A new term was introduced to me today called replacement behavior. See, I was doing that and didn't even know it. See, we come with this discipline where we say we want to expel, we want to suspend, we want to incarcerate, we want to give out all sorts of citations and things of this nature. No. We got to figure out how to triage the kid, triage the family, keep that kid in school, keep that kid motivated. When you send that kid home, there's a possibility we may be introducing that kid to the criminal justice system. There's a possibility that that kid, within that 1 week of suspension, fall a semester behind. As educators, we have to do all we can to keep all kids in school, and if we have to put them in a smaller environment, let's do that. But do not expel them, do not suspend them. Now, for some egregious things, we have to do that. But how do we keep the learning going? Even if we have to put them in an environment where their learning is continued from the general population of the school, let's do that. But if we send that kid home with no instruction, no classwork, nothing, that kid will possibly fall behind a full semester in that week, that day. Let's get to acting, the last component. See, I'm a big vision person. I learned this from Papa. Papa said, Omar, if you want to do something, don't do it small, do it big. So ever since, Papa and I have been hanging out, when I hang out with folks, I ask for big stuff. I don't ask for small stuff. And as an educator, I have a vision and I have a dream. One, the Aurora branch of the NAACP, this is a side note, but it goes with what we're saying, is committed to eradicating youth violence in the city of Aurora. That's our number one charge. And for those of you that are here in the Aurora branch of the NAACP, know that is something I am 100%, we are 100% committed to. We're also committed to economic development. Why? We gave out over $150,000 along with Visit Aurora, along with the Village Exchange Center, and we gave out over $150,000 in small business grants during COVID and post-COVID. So, Omar, why are you sharing this in the middle of a speech where you're going through a protocol and all these different things? Because kids think differently today. They think about finances and the money in their pockets. Some of them are the ones that's making the most money in the house and they're 12 and 13 years old. Some of those kids are out there trying to shovel yards and trying to, I knew one kid who was reselling his Jordans online and made a couple of $1,000s in a year. Let's think innovative now. What about if we relooked at our child labor laws and began to offer kids entry-level jobs between the age of 13 and 17, where they could work up to 10 to 15 hours and their grades need to stay up? Let's think about that. Because we always talk about, kids and finances. Well, let's think about it. Our crime rate went up, and there's kids that's breaking his cars, there's kids that's stealing cars, many of them because they're taking care of families. Many of them don't know when their next meal is going to be when school is out. Many of them don't know. They got to buy medication for their brothers and sisters. They got to do all these different responsibilities that adults have at the age of 12, 13, and 14. So let's teach them how to save. Let's teach them about financial literacy. Let's teach them about entrepreneurship. And let's give them a chance to earn some income. My second big picture. APS, Cherry Creek, and DPS all fall in the same area. Do you know, how many of y'all know kids that's been to all three? Some of y'all been to all three. And the kids go in and out of the different schools. What about if we had a regional approach to public safety, a regional approach to getting rid of the literacy gap, and a regional approach to looking at academic success? Let me tell you what that looks like. Because people are looking at me like, oh my, what are you talking about? There's 3 different school districts. I'm not saying combine the school districts. What I'm saying is some of those school districts do things well. Aurora Public Schools has a strong, robust after-school program. DPS has some great honors and IB programs. Cherry Creek has a new leadership program that's committed to reducing violence in schools and in the community that is working. So what about if Cherry Creek shared their violence prevention program, if DPS shared their honors and IB work that they're doing, and if APS shared their after-school program, and they met quarterly to look at how they could support each other in academic success, and then apply that to public safety at the same time. Let's think big. Let's not think small. Let's think in ways we haven't thought about education before. Our kids are counting on us. Now, we're going to listen to them because they got some phenomenal ideas. They're going to bring it. But at the same time, we're the ones that's in the classroom. We're the one that's making the decisions. Why don't we do something that could work? Why don't we do something that's different? Because the same old is going to have that 15-year gap, 20-year gap of kids who are not going to be able to read and write. Entrepreneur Magazine earlier this month put out some of the top fields that people need to prepare for. Artificial intelligence, computer science, public health. I was shocked to see education on there. Economics. These are some of the top fields we have to prepare kids for. Now, on the other end, there's also trades. Because even those that's dealing with AI technology are going to have a plumbing problem, an electrician problem, and if we keep having hailstorms here, we're going to have more roofs that need to be repaired. I say that to say we need to balance these opportunities for kids. Some of the kids will go to Harvard, CU Denver, Metro, major in some great things. Some of our kids are going to say, well, I want a trade. I want a certification. I want to learn how to run my own business. I want to learn how to be a plumber. You can make 6 figures as an entry-level plumber now. Why? Because there's a shortage of plumbers. There's a shortage of air traffic controllers. There's a shortage of nurses. And you can step right into these careers right now. And then we teach them how to save, how to budget, how to invest, and how to do generational wealth. See, it started with Sawubona, a Zulu term for I see you. And it's more than just I see you, it's also I see every single thing that you bring. See, for me, if I see you, that means I have to invest in you. That means we're investing in excellence, meaning the safety is going to come, the learning is going to come, but I have to see you first. Do we see our kids or do we just talk at our kids? Do we see the pain that they're going through in school when someone posts a video about them? Or do we just say, you'll get over it? Do we understand that our schools are investing in mental health more than any other time in our history? Even to the point where Cherry Creek is opening up the Traverse Center, which will be a day treatment facility for our kids who are having mental health concerns. Just about every school has a psychologist and sociologist in the school. Why? Because our kids are facing things that we didn't have to face as a kid. I'll give you an example. If I got into a fight, it wasn't posted on social media. I could give any narrative about that fight no matter how bad I look after the fight. But imagine a kid whose whole life story is posted and thousands of people commenting, saying unkind things. We didn't have to go through that. We have to start out with, I see you. And with that, I see you, I'm here for you. I'm here to protect you. I'm here to uplift you. And as I begin to close, there's one thing I would like to share and do. If you're an educator, please stand up. If you're a student, please stand up. Those, keep standing, keep standing, keep standing, keep standing. If you're a student, please stand up. I completely remain standing for 1 second. I completely see you. I feel you. I understand what you go through every single day. So for everyone else in the audience, I need a favor. When I say Sawubona, I want you to say, I see you. When I say Sawubona, I want you to say as loud as you can one time, I see you. Why is loud? I want the people downstairs, the people across University Road, the people that's walking through the Botanic Gardens now to know that we have the brightest and best in the room, and we have those teaching the brightest, the best in the room. So on 3, let's let everybody know I see you. 1, 2, 3. Sawubona. I see you. I love you. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Whew, 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 whew. Wow, wow, wow. Another round of applause for Mr. Omar here. Believe, believe, believe. Believe, believe, believe. Every single kid can learn. That was powerful. And I believe, dear Hartley, that every kid could learn. Some powerful things you said, Mr. Omar, and I hope I have a notepad and I filled everything up. We have educators, we have students, we have parents. You have a university at home, he mentioned, a university at home. The kids in the back, I know where you guys are at over there. Stop hiding. You have a university at home. I don't have homework today, you have a university at home. So those kids are my tutoring kids, so just letting you know. But it's just powerful. And I think that's, as I mentioned again, listening. We have people that have solutions. We have educators that have solutions. We have students that have solutions. Why don't we come together? He said once a month, APS, DPS, Cherry Creek, quarterly, just to meet, to share ideas. Why can't we do that? Whew. Thank you. As we continue on, we have amazing students about to be here. I know you're tired. You ready for the hear from the students? You hear from the adults. Now let's hear from the students. Just to bring on the next person here is our moderator for the evening. We have Danielle Tamwing. She's also a part of the Parent Engagement Committee. She has two amazing daughters that attend Vanguard Classical School. She's doing work in the community right now. She's very passionate about education. And she's been very consistent with our Parent Engagement Committee and also helping our parents also navigate the education system. And did I forget to mention, she also running for school board this year. Let's get it. It is my honor to introduce Danielle Tamwing.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. When you have a community like this coming together, this is what gives us hope. We've started right here tonight, and we're going to continue. Without further ado, before I bring up our panelists, I did assure them that this is, as we speak about safety, a safe space for them. We're asking each of you to listen with open hearts and open minds, and with the art of the possibility. So with that, I would like to bring up our panelists, our students, to the stage to introduce themselves. All right, so we'd like to invite our students to just give a brief introduction of themselves, just with their name, possibly what grade or what school, and then one random thing about themselves that they'd like to share. Yeah, great.
Hello, my name is Hulai Sai. I am going to be a senior this year at KIPP Northeast Denver Leadership Academy. I am so excited to have this conversation today, so thank you so much for having me.
Hi, my name is Razan Mohammed. I just graduated from Oakland High School and I'm going into my first year of college at Colorado State University. And a fun fact about me is that I own parrots.
Hello. Okay. My name's Avery. I'm going into 8th grade. I'm at McCullough International Middle School, and one random fact about me is that I love dogs. Anytime I see a dog, I'm going to try to pet it.
Okay. My name is Jaden Carter. I attend Vista Beach Preparatory, and I'm in 11th grade. And one interesting fact about me is that I love mountain biking.
All right. Thank you. Can we get one round of applause for our panelists, please? All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to sit back, relax, and brace yourself for a serious and crucial conversation about one of the most touchy topics in our society, and that is education. People are passionate about this subject. People are divided about this subject. It's one of those subjects where pointing out the problems is easy, but coming up with the solutions is hard and difficult. As many of you already know, the African Leadership Group has never shied away from tough topics. In fact, if anything, we lean in. And that is what we're here to do tonight. So let's lean in with this extraordinary panel of youth leaders who are ready to share their perspective on education issues. And just to set the stage, let me pose the first question to the audience. A simple question, by show of hands. How many of you believe that all children deserve a quality education? Great. So we're off to a great start. We all believe that all children deserve access to education excellence, but there's a problem. We can't talk about accessing a quality education until we can first have access to a safe education. And that's where we'll start. So my first question to our panelists is pretty straightforward, and I would like each of you to answer it. To what degree do you feel safe in your school environment? And if you do feel safe, what is it that makes you feel that? And if not, what is it that makes you feel uncomfortable? Who, lady, you want to start?
I feel like this question doesn't have I don't have a specific answer to this question because there's various degrees which I could answer with. One of them being I do feel somewhat safe, but then also not the way I want to feel. I feel like because of recent events and everything that has been happening, it's not easy to feel safe going to school, especially if you have little siblings who are much more vulnerable and are yet to go through the years as you have been, because we're going to be going to college soon. But what recent events have been showing us is the younger population is more of a target. So that's a big fear. So I don't only fear for myself, but for my siblings as well, my little siblings who I know are yet to grow up, yet are gonna have to experience this, and this fear is very real amongst them.
I would say while I was attending Oberlin High School that I did feel safe at Oberlin High School because we did have resource officers and we had procedures in case something happened. But I also agree with you that the younger population is more of a target, and we can see that in the news and in social media, which is something that we really need to work on throughout our district.
Let's see. So usually I feel safe in my school, mostly because I'm around friends and I know that I have at least some people that I could trust. But then also a lot of the things that have been happening in my school I haven't found out till after the year was over. So I guess the ignorance of what's going on around me is something that makes me feel uncomfortable. It's definitely gonna be something factual for this year.
I feel similar to Avery. For the most part, I feel safe in school, but I also know I can go around and I also hear a lot of stuff that would definitely worry me. And I know I haven't witnessed or been a part of anything firsthand, but knowing that it does happen around the school, it makes me not feel the safest, but for the most part, I do feel comfortable and safe at school.
Thank you. I think with that, and I think all of you sort of agreed that to some extent, and there's even a further concern for our younger students who are currently in school. I guess if one or two of you would like to answer the next question. Have school leaders failed their responsibility of keeping you safe, or is that an unfair expectation to put on the school?
Once again, I feel like there's no actual way to answer this question. However, what I've noticed is a lot of us are so quick to have discussions, to set up panels and like to speak, but not many of us are willing to take action. So the actual question is, how much longer are we going to have these discussions, and how long is it going to take us for us to actually take steps that are necessary in order to
Absolutely.
It depends on like who's, like, let's say like a student was in a dangerous situation, right? It depends on whose fault it was that they got put in that dangerous situation. Like, if they put themselves in that situation, that's pretty much on them. But like, they still can ask for help and like stuff like that. Well, if schools put them in a dangerous situation, it's kind of like their job to make sure they're not. So if it's the schools, yes, it's definitely their fault. But if it's the students, it's their fault, but they should be able to like ask for help. And if they don't, they should be able to figure out a way to get that.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to answer? That's right. All right, we'll move on to the next question, which is, I'm going to start this as a warning to the audience. Things are about to get a little bit heavy, but it's important that we confront the hard truths in order to overcome them. Earlier this year, less than 1 mile from where we sit right now, tragedy struck, not once, but twice. In March, a student was shot to death just outside East High School. 2 weeks later, 2 administrators were shot by a student inside of the school. And thankfully, those 2 educators survived, but the student fled the scene and ultimately took his own life. That's 2 students dead, 2 educators whose lives forever changed, and a community left shaken by violence. Question to our panelists are, what do you remember thinking and feeling when you heard about these shootings at the East High School?
I think when I heard about this, it was really hard because the kid that did take his life went to Oberlin previously, and his sister was in the same class that I was. I was part of student government, and he was known as like a quiet kid. He was in orchestra. He wasn't really active in like the after school clubs or like in sports, and I was shocked to hear that him, the quiet kid, like the kid that loved orchestra, loved playing the violin, would do something like this. And I think that one thing that ran through my head was, were his parents aware? Did they have a wellness check on him? Did they see what he was doing, or any way that they could help him to prevent this from happening? And so that's what ran through my mind when I was thinking about that.
So I remember feeling, cause like I'm not in high school yet, so it's like, I mean, it's kind of like adding on to, like, is high school like going to be safe? And I'm not sure. It probably will, but like it kind of like feels a sense of like urgency of, oh, well, will this happen? Will this happen at like in like 2 years? But something else is that like it was definitely shocking. Like stuff like this shouldn't be happening, but I didn't know about it until after the fact. So like what could we do? Like what could we do beforehand to actually make sure stuff like this doesn't happen?
Just a follow-up question. The elected school board, which sets policy for Denver public schools, had recently decided to take uniformed and trained police resource officers outside of the schools. From the student's perspective, what do you think about the presence of a police officer in your school on a daily basis?
I know at Oberlin we have like some police officers and some resource officers, and I didn't feel unsafe when they were there, and I didn't feel more safe. I think I felt the same as I did before when they were there. And I think it's because they really didn't tell the students that they were there, you would just see them. And so I think one thing that schools need to do is like, here is our resource officers and our police officers, so if you see anything or hear anything, like this is a place you can go to and talk to them, instead of just like, oh, they're here now. Because I didn't find out about them until I was leaving, until I graduated, and I didn't even know where their office was.
Wow.
So that's something that's like really, I think it could have helped a lot of situations.
Personally, I definitely feel much safer knowing we have school resource officers at our school. I know there are issues with police and a lot of stuff surrounding that, but it's safer knowing if something did happen that there are people in the building who might be able to take care of the situation, as opposed to being forced to just leave it to the drills we practiced prior, even if they are good. Yeah, just being forced to leave it to that and hope something bad, or it doesn't get worse. But I also do agree, I wasn't necessarily told about our school resource officers. They would just talk to students sometimes, but had I not known that they were there, I feel like, had I not known they were there, I wouldn't feel safer, or I wouldn't have felt safer or unsafe if I didn't know they were there at all.
I somewhat agree with the two that spoke to me before me, but like now this is kind of like a third person's perspective where it kind of depends on the student's mindset about police, because some students are taught like, oh, like police are bad, and some other students are taught like they're probably not, like they're here to help. So it's like whatever your perspective on them is what you're gonna get when expecting like police in your school.
Personally, this isn't something that is directly affecting me, since my school isn't one of those who have put this rule or new law in place. However, it makes me think of the whole school to jail prison pipeline, with Denver having so many students of color, and with recent events that have happened with the whole Black Lives Matter movement. I feel like this wasn't necessarily the best step that they could have taken, especially knowing how vulnerable some kids can be and how close to home that like it can hit because of how many students of color there are. I also feel like it inflicts fear upon the youth, and that is something kids should not be worrying about going to school. And like what Omar was talking about earlier, some students, like if you suspend them, that could mean them never returning, becoming criminals, or them not finishing semesters. And having things like this in place, instilling fear upon these students, especially at this young age, and then seeing everything that's going on social media, they might feel targeted somehow. And we're not really taking the time to listen to them, because student voice is very lacking, especially with like policies. And I know all these laws are being set in place, but not much student voice is being taken into consideration. And I feel like that is so important, especially since all these laws and rules that are being set into place are to protect their very own kids whose voices they're not listening.
Thank you. So I guess a little bit of an add-on to that. Other than offices in schools, are there any other ideas that you can think of that make our schools safer?
Right now, I can't really think of one, but like he was saying earlier, there's so many brilliant minds Kids are so incredibly smart. If you take the time to listen to them, see how they feel about certain things, what stances they have, or what they feel like they're lacking or what they need, if you take the time to listen to them, there's probably a plethora of ideas that they could come up with.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to answer that question?
None really. I've been kind of thinking about this question, but none really come to mind. Cause I remember in the school I was in for 6th grade, they had like extra security cameras. They would lock the back doors and stuff. But it didn't seem like anything was really helping. But nothing comes to mind other than that. But like she said, there's lots of people, including kids, who have like really good ideas on how to protect their schools.
Thank you. All right, as we said earlier, it's hard to even think about getting an education, excellence in education, until students can feel safe at school. But let's channel all of our optimism and imagine that now we can ensure safety at schools. And now let's talk about high quality teaching and learning. So transitioning, do you think your school experience is preparing you for your next steps in life after graduation and setting you up for a successful future? And if you want, you can go as far as giving your school an overall grade of A, B, C, or D, and explain why. Right? And I'm going to just reiterate, this is a no judgment free zone, safe space for our kids.
Because I just graduated, I would say that my school did set me up for college. And the reason I say that is due to like the honors and AP and IB classes that I've taken. I think those are very challenging classes and they get you ready for college, which those classes are challenging and the load work and all of that. And another class that I was a part of was AVID, which it gets you ready for college and the steps you need to take, and not only how to apply, but also it helps with financial aid and FAFSA. And I think just having that security and like what steps I need to take in order to get into college and how to write college essays, I think that's why I felt so ready to enter college and apply to college, and that my teacher really pushed me to apply to places that I thought I couldn't get into, and I think it really just allows you to step out of your comfort zone.
I'm gonna do the rating beforehand. I would probably say like a C, because my teachers, like in my classes, have been kind of split. Like on one hand, you see like teachers who know like not everything that you're gonna learn in school is gonna be important to your life. And I'm not sure if that's preparing me for that or not, but like they recognize that. And I've even had a teacher like change the curriculum that they're gonna teach for that purpose. But then on the other hand, I've had a teacher that like if you don't get this assignment done, like you won't like succeed in life or something like that. So there's definitely a split there, but I'm not really sure yet.
I feel like my school, I hope at least, my school is setting me up for college and success after high school pretty well. Since a lot of students out of high school do plan on going to college, we offer like concurrent enrollment programs, and that sets people up really well because you get to see what college classes are like before jumping into them head on. But I also know some teachers at my school just don't really care that much about teaching, and that causes a lot of issues for those students, and then they don't get to know what college might be like, and they don't get to be as prepared when they go into further education or just wherever they are. They might not learn the work ethic needed because they haven't been placed in a challenging situation yet. But overall, I feel like I give my school like a B. I feel like for the most part it's good, but there's definitely some issues in there.
Once again, I will say to a certain extent, because when I think of getting ready for life, I don't necessarily think about college. I think life expands so much more beyond college. And also, if you look at schools 100 years before this and now, nothing has really changed. It's always the same pathway. Go to school, go to college, and then find a career that you're gonna like, that's gonna pay you or whatever. But like, we're in a different era. Like, we're in a new technological era. There's so many things that are changing in this world, and I feel like a lot of us are not ready for it. We are so used to being handed things and being shown how to do this, or what steps you need to take, or this is a curriculum that you have to follow. This is the grading criteria. Life does not work that way. It's so yeah, life just doesn't work that way. And with the whole like the rise of AIs and all of that, we need to be prepared for what's to come, because this whole like find a career or like stick to this one job that's gonna like give you success and all of that, that's not the reality now. And people need to like, because the world is changing, the school system also needs to change to fit the world that we're living in today.
Absolutely agree. Yes. Absolutely agree. Thank you. You guys are doing great. We're almost towards the end, just a couple more. This one's a really important question. And again, before I ask it, I want to say something to the panelists. I want to reassure you again that that you are on this stage because you absolutely deserve to be. Because you are the true experts in the subject matter of student experience. And we really do value your thoughts and opinions. So with that said, don't be shy in answering this question. What can parents be doing better? What do parents need to know about how to best support you as you navigate your educational experience? So you want to be
Well, I feel like this goes back to what Omar was saying earlier about like the whole like education starting from home, because we grew up with our parents. They're the first people who are there when we're born. They're the ones that grew up with us seeing all of this. Like, education starts at home, and the most important kind of education we get is not necessarily at school, but from the experiences that we get outside of school. And a lot of the most educated people I have met in my life, some of them haven't even finished high school. But if you look at them, you're like, oh, they don't have the degree, they're not like educated. And that is so far from the truth. And I feel like what parents can do is they should start teaching their kids like from home, giving them the support that they need, and not just giving them the education that is given to them at school, because that education is already given to them at schools. They need to like expand and then like look on the outside and introspect and see what is it that that could benefit my kid, that could benefit the world that they're living in, and what is to come like in life. And that's how they can prepare their kids.
Thank you.
I don't know why I keep turning my mic off after each question. I would probably say, because a lot of kids don't feel like safe asking their parents for help with like assignments and stuff. Like if they're failing in school, if they're like having trouble with a certain class. A lot of people I've met haven't like felt comfortable with asking their parents for help, because every time they ask, they say it feels more like extra pressure given to them than actual help. Like, I've had a friend, she like calls me like after school and stuff to like ask for homework, for help for homework, because and I asked like, why don't you just ask your parents? And she says because she can't like she can't trust that they'll actually help. So.
To agree kind of with what Avery said, I believe a lot of a lot of kids or students aren't comfortable with their parents, and they also don't know if they'll be supported or not, especially because I know a friend of mine, his parents really wanted him to go to college, and that's like where they set him on going, and then he ultimately decided he wanted to go into a trade, but that wasn't good with, his parents weren't okay with that. So instead of him being able to go and be successful doing that, he might be forced to end up doing stuff he doesn't want to do. And that's just not good for him or anybody involved. So just being supportive, I feel like is really important.
Thank you. All right, we're actually towards our last questions. We're going to wrap up this portion of the program before we move to our community discussion. Let's end on an inspirational note. Our final question. Based on your own lived experience, what are some of the words of wisdom and advice you'd give to a younger student to help them thrive in school?
I would probably say, like, figure out a set goal at least for the semester, and that'll make the path clearer to like what you want to do for that semester, and then it helps block out all of the other like drama and like some of the outside pressure too. So I would say try to set your goal and then try to figure out how to filter out people who are going to stop you from achieving that goal, and figure out who you want to be around and who's gonna actually help you and who's gonna try to take advantage of you.
Razan? Yeah.
I agree. Have a goal have goals that you want to achieve throughout, especially going into high school. Figure out what interests you have, and don't be afraid to join clubs and sports and meet new people. I think my freshman year, something that I regret doing is being very to myself and not really opening up and meeting new people and kind of shying away from different opportunities. And if I would tell my past self not to do that, I would. And I think in order to grow, you need to do new things, you need to take challenges, and I think that one of the most important things that I learned is always challenge yourself. Even if the challenge is really hard, take that class, go enter that club, and I think that will help you in the long run.
Thank you.
A very important advice that I have been given is learn to control your own mind before it starts to control you. I feel like what we hear, our brains are like recording devices, and we're always constantly taking in everything that we're hearing. And sometimes we tend to have certain ideologies that we're projecting, thinking that they're our own, but they're not. It's just our subconscious mind playing us and replaying the tape of things that we have been constantly told in our lives. So it's so important to learn to control your own mind, learn to know what you want, and then to differentiate that from things that you have been told. And I just find that that's very important. And also seek out opportunities. If you're really passionate about something, don't let the fear of what people's perceptions towards you, rather take those opportunities, because at the end of the day, people are too busy thinking about themselves to be worrying about you looking foolish or you looking weird or whatever,
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Nothing anybody hasn't really said before, but just finding your niche and finding your niche and doing as much as you can with it. Find something you really enjoy, something you're passionate about, and just finding out how far you can go with that. Because that's really important in life. If you can't find something you enjoy and push yourself with it, then you're just not. I don't know. I'd say you probably aren't enjoying your life then. There's something along the lines of that. But yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you again. A round of applause for this amazing panelists of our youth. You guys did phenomenal. My one small takeaway is that it truly takes a village for our kids to be successful. The fact that you all have showed up here tonight means that this is just the beginning and that we're going to do amazing and great things as we continue to support our kids and their education. Thank you, everyone. All right, we're going to move towards actually the sort of parent and community engagement. We're opening up the floor to you tonight. You've heard from our students and from our youth, some of their concerns around safety and what they understand as supporting them in their path and their education experience. Do we have any questions or comments from our parents and community? Oh. Right, there's someone in the back as well. Who's he?
Can you hear me? First of all, thank you all for coming, and thank you for being here, supporting the education of our kids, and also being involved in the discussions about what we think can benefit them in the way we see the educational system today. So to start, there are so many things that were shared tonight which are really powerful. I'm a parent, but also I'm a teacher. And using my teacher hat, one of the things that strike me is you share some of the key success points that I witnessed in my class. And those are the parent engagement in their student life. Some of my most successful students were the students that the parents were engaged in their school, like in their educational life. Basically was them setting their expectation and asking me as the teacher of their student, of the child, to meet those expectations. So for every one of you today in the room as a parent, this is something that I would encourage you to do. I know coming from an African culture, we tend to let the teacher do everything. But here in the United States, we need to see parent engagement in the education of their kids so that whatever is happening at school, I don't know, my daughter said better than what I can put, like half of their life is happening outside of the school. And half of their life is happening outside of their school with their parents. So if their parent doesn't know what is going on in the classroom, therefore they cannot help or assist their kid in their educational life. So tonight, we urge you as parents to be involved in your kid life, and there's many, many ways to do it. Most of my successful kids, I will say it again, were successful not because they were smart, but because at one point, their parents were engaged and involved in their educational trajectory. Thank you.
My question for the students involves these social and emotional learning. And I've heard about, the stress that comes with trauma in school, RSOs, or SROs. But I wanted to find out from each one of you, when it comes to supporting the whole child and your social and emotional health, what would you like to see in school? And maybe what would you like to see from parents as well?
Something I have said before, but I think you can't really know what someone needs unless you take the time to talk and listen to them, because it's like this whole love language thing. What may work for you might not always work for someone else, and if you don't take the time to listen to someone and then make them feel safe to know that they can be real with you. You're not really gonna know what they want. So that whole like social, emotional, and like social intelligence, just learning, being aware, like socially aware, I think is so important. And I feel like one thing cannot cater to everyone, so there isn't like one specific right answer that would work here, which is why I feel like if you really want to do what's best for someone, or want to know what is the best way to help someone, you have to take the time to see that person, like I see you, and hear them, listen to what they're saying, and then try your best to accommodate to what it is that they need.
Going off of what you said, I totally agree that there's not just one right answer. And I think something that my school tried to do was have like an advisory / home room about mental health and well-being. And not everyone was comfortable with sharing their experiences because we were just placed in a classroom last minute with kids we did not know, and a teacher we did not know. And so it was really hard for me to open up and do these like mental health assignments or wellness check-ins with someone that I've never had as a teacher, students that I've never been around, and I was just placed in a classroom based on my last name. And I think it was their idea of trying to help the overall mental health of the students in the school, but it's something that I felt wasted time out of my day when I could be studying for a test or finish my homework. And I think that that's one thing that they need to take into account, that not everyone learns the same way, or not everyone is going to just immediately open up and to this idea that we're foreign to, and we've just been placed in a classroom and told to talk about our mental health.
I would say, like, I agree. My other school, they had an advisory thing too, but then certain days, like, they would like try to like talk about the mental health assignments and stuff. They weren't actually like doing anything though. Cause every time we would like do like a mental health assignment, it would have you like write on a piece of paper like something that would like on a sticky note or something, like something about that whatever event happened, and then after that, like they said like next week or something we're gonna do like a fishbowl, and then like everybody's gonna talk about it. We never did any of that. We kind of just it was kind of just there, and because most of the kids, they were kind of just talking to their friends because nobody was doing anything. So it was kind of viewed as like the middle school free period. But then the teacher was also kind of rude. But like we kind of got where it was coming from.
I agree with Avery. My advisory experience for mental health stuff has been really similar, where they kind of say we're going to do things and then they don't. But it'll also just be like lecture stuff that's not like personal. It'll be like, yeah, this can be something that would help if this issue came up, but that's not addressing the issues that are already there. Because if somebody's having issues with mental health, that's not addressing that, and it's not going to solve it. Just being told, if you were in this situation, you could do this. It doesn't solve enough. It doesn't do what it's trying to do, and we need to do better with that.
Good evening. Hi, good evening. My name's White Bebuye, Adadia at the end of my name. And born and raised in Kenya. I came here about 20 years ago. I'm an immigrant. I have 5 children. All my children, I think, they've gone through the education system in the US. But I just have a comment looks like there was mention about parents getting engaged. And I think that's an area that's very wanting. I've seen friends, I've seen colleagues, you know, like for example, as a parent, you might want to help your child with their homework, but then they grow so fast, and the homeworks also grow so fast, so ideally, as a parent, you'll be like, I don't know Latin, how can I help him with Latin? You know, that kind of stuff. So my comment is, you know, like as parents, we need to be engaged more. But then I'd also like to challenge, you know, the students. You know, you guys are bright, you guys are upcoming. You guys need to also encourage the parents to get involved more in terms of, you know, like they can demand excellence from the school district. They can volunteer in programs. They can, you know, do stuff, go to school, you know, like just get involved. And at this point, you know, as a parent, I try to do it. It's also challenging, but I'd also like to challenge the students, you know, to be like, because this is a learning process for both students and parents. So be also, you know, like the parent is learning, you're also learning. So teach each other, get involved in each other's lives, and I think that way we'll achieve excellence when it comes to education, because education is a pillar, one of the greatest pillars in this country or in the world over. So that's my comment and that's my challenge to you as students. Challenge your parents, get your parents involved.
Hi, I have a question for everybody. We are talking a lot about teachers and students, but are we talking about the administration, about principals, deans, who make them accountable? I have worked in the 3 school districts that Amar mentioned, and I have seen over and over principals that call the police to give tickets to kids, and nobody can say anything. I have seen kids being hurt in schools, and schools putting restriction orders to kids, so they cannot come back with a lawyer saying my daughter got hurt in this school. So what are we doing as a community? How we're protecting our kids if the heads of the school where we leave our kids in are not working with us, and they're not following the law, and they are not looking for what is best for the kids, but what is best for them, how they look in front of the community. That's it.
I wanted to touch back on the topic of the pathway of high school to college to eventually a career. As originally stated, the way that we do things and the way that school operates hasn't changed in the past century. When children were put into factories and given a massive board with one person standing there shouting and trying to get everyone to understand the same thing. And I think it also speaks volumes that a lot of the ways that people perceive, you know, parenting and helping their children through college and school is pretty similar. It's a lot of talking at kids when kids have a lot to say. People's brains are wired in so many different ways, and every person has a language that they can teach you. Even if you're in the same neighborhood, in the same city, in the same community, you could have completely different life experiences, completely different views on everything. And if you really want to know how to talk to your kid or get them through something, sit with them. They'll tell you everything you need to know. They really will. And that support might not be knowing Latin and teaching it to them, because I don't know Latin, I don't know anyone who does know Latin. But creating that environment for them, sitting with your kid and reading a book with them while they're doing their homework, that's something you can do. Asking them how their day went without any expectations of if it's good or if it's bad. Did you have a good day? No. How was your day? Tell me about the things that really bothered you about today. Or tell me about what you guys ate at lunch. Little conversations like that go so far. And it doesn't just start in the classroom or just start at home. It starts from within. You have to treat your kids like people and realize that they're not you. And no matter how much you might try to fit them into a bubble, they'll never be you. So yeah, I just wanted to make that comment as I'm an African. I have African parents. So I know a lot of it is just, you know, keep your head down, go to school, do good. I get that. But if you really want to make a difference and you really want to see that difference reflected in your child, treat them like a person. They have a lot to say, and they'll tell you everything you need to know if you just listen.
We'll see it.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Miriam Dia, and I'm a senior in high school at Colorado Early College of Aurora. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for being here today and just listening to students' perspectives. And I want to thank the student panel for sharing your perspective and know how difficult that can be at times. I kind of just wanted to allude to the fact that for the superintendents and school board members that are in the building, just start thinking about the way that you're vetting and hiring teachers. Half of the time we have really good teachers and students will have really good experiences with those teachers. But if you don't get that teacher early enough on your path, who's to say where you might end up? So I just really want to allude to the fact that pay attention to who you're hiring, making sure that they have experience with students and children, making sure they know how to communicate with students and children. And I just kind of wanted the panel to allude to their experience with that as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree on the point that depending on where along your path you get a really good teacher can affect the entire outcome of how you view school and where you end up going in school. Because I've definitely had not great teachers before, but it was not a pivotal point, so I didn't end up caring all too much really. But I remember I had a 7th grade math teacher who really inspired me to, you know, start loving math, and it's my favorite subject, and I try to push myself in it however I can now. Had I not had that experience, yeah, I just wouldn't be where I am. So it is definitely a really good thing to have good teachers who can inspire kids to, you know, take initiative in what they care about.
Let's see, cause I've had the first time I ever actually like disagreed with a teacher is in 5th grade, because I forget what it was about, but she would like, I think my parents remember this. She would like that one day she like shot down my idea for some reason, and then like I came home, told you guys. And then she, like, when I asked her about it after, she kind of just, like, I think she just forgot. So, like, there's experiences like that where you see, like, the flaws and stuff. But then there's also experiences, like, my, like, 6th grade GT class where they, like, try to, like, embrace your learning, embrace, like, who you are and put that into, like, where you are in your learning path so you can figure it out.
Going back to what you said, like making sure that they're hiring good teachers who are passionate about what they want to do. But I think it's also important for us as a community to know who we're voting for to be put in these positions of powers. Because for instance, one thing that I learned this summer through my internship was that some of the board members who are elected are trying to erase school choice, which is something that is so like important, and not everyone has like your best interest at heart. So if you're truly passionate about education and helping your kids, make sure that you're also like taking the steps necessary to know what is going on in the school district. Who are you voting to be in places of power to hire like the good teachers that you want. Because if the people who you're voting for do not agree with what you want, you're not gonna get what you want. Especially, you're not gonna have teachers who are passionate about their jobs, because those same things that they stand for, they cannot voice those opinions because the people who have power over them will not agree with them, and then that will just lead them to like quitting their jobs or doing something else, and then we're left with the questions, why are teachers quitting? But then we're not asking ourselves, who are we putting in positions of powers to ensure that this cycle ends now and that it's not like repeating?
Yes, this is a pet peeve with me in regards to kids' school and their actual creativity, cursive writing. This is my thing. Every time I go to a principal and they tell me it's not necessary, my question to them is, what are they gonna do when they sign the document that buys them a house? Are they gonna X marks the spot? Are they gonna let a computer do it? These are things in plain sight that are taking away from us. That's a part of our creativity, part of our image, because everybody writes different, and it's in plain sight. So for me, as a grandma, a great-grandma, and an elder in the community, I say bring cursive back.
We got one question in the back and one more question.
Okay, hello, Nyadak here. I've been here for 24 years. I went to Metro State. I am currently also a teacher and a mother of a teenager. And life is tough being a parent. So yes, you have to get involved. So it's like a three-way relationship, right? The parent, first of all, the student, the teacher, and the parent. It is so tough, right, for immigrant parents to try to get involved. But if you are there, you're asking questions, A for effort? Yes, just go there, show up. They will even, you can even ask to, for your communication to be translated into a language that you prefer, which will also bring more awareness to our educators. Like, oh, this parent prefers this language. Well, what is this language about? You know, they can get to learn more history. And if our community is more involved with our student body, if they understand different perspectives and different cultures, then we can really identify just different learning styles. So within that, thank you so much for our brave students up there. And thank you for sharing your perspectives. Thank you so much.
Hi. I just wanted to ask a question about youth engagement and how to amplify and increase the voices of our students in our schools. And we always kind of tend to have the same students showing up. And I mean, that's kind of typical in other advocacy as well. But if you had any thoughts or suggestions on how to connect with the youth that are not showing up, but then also how to best create an environment to help our youth's voice be heard and implemented into solutions.
something that you could do to help connect like the kids who like aren't showing up. I assume like what you're implying is that like the kids either who aren't like trying as hard in school, or like the people who aren't, the kids who aren't like showing up here, is try to figure out a way. So try to figure out a way to bend their interest into putting that into like their education, and try to figure out how to put their interests into something that you want them to do, so they enjoy doing that thing. And then let's see, for people who aren't here right now, people who aren't like in this building right now, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that's what you were talking about.
For me, like, I think there are two different types of teachers. Like, some that like are motivated to like teach, and there's some that like don't really care. Like for me, I had this teacher that like I don't think she cared, because we'll come in the classroom, immediately start reading, and it's like language arts. Like she made me hate language arts. Like I don't like language arts at all. So she would make will come in class, read, and she knows that no one will pay attention. Like everyone is doing their own thing, or like no people listen to her at all. And it's kind of like, and like I was in the classroom, but like me and my friend, we always felt targeted. Like we do something, we get in trouble. We don't do something, we get in trouble. Like at a certain point, like my friends were literally like crying because of how the teacher talked to her. One time, she told one of my friends that she would be surprised if she made anything out of her future, I guess, or like if she sums up to anything in her future. And then she started crying because of that, because like I don't know, but there's this other teacher that like she was fully motivated. Like if she sees that people aren't paying attention, she will stop and then like play a song, do something, do a Kahoot or something, and try to bring our attention back, and then continue the class. So I think that that's why there are two different types of teachers, and yeah, and that's why I don't like liberal arts.
All right. Lynn Wilson, educator, parent of 2 youngsters. So mine is a little bit more of a utilitarian question, because thank God there's an abundance of a lot of backpack giveaways. That's the new trend with this back to school stuff. But you notice the constant barrage of backpacks has kind of the same tools. Back to the reference of 100 years, it's the same stuff, and that's not today's what's being used in the classes, right? So I mean, getting a composition book is great, right? Or college rule paper, but you're not using that, are you? You're probably using laptops and digital stuff. So my question is, if you were to have a back to school backpack giveaway, what would you provide to kids today?
I know going into college, I decided to use my iPad more, so I would include that, and I downloaded like this note app where I can take notes for each class using a pen, so I don't have to rely on paper and pencil. So that would be something in my giveaway, because I know a lot of, in this generation, it's all about electronics. A laptop, that's very useful, and I think that even in college, many professors don't require like a notebook or a folder, which I'm now learning from my older siblings, because they've all been through the college process. And honestly, I think it's more helpful and useful because students tend to lose notebooks and papers, and just having a notebook for every different class, they tend to lose things. And I think having it on an iPad or a computer is easier, and it's more concise and easy to find what you need. So I would include like an iPad and a laptop in my giveaway backpack.
Let's see. Yeah, like you said, pretty much everything you could do, like pretty much everything you do on paper, you could probably do like on an iPad or laptop or something. And like I understand, a lot of like schools, they still have you bring notebooks and stuff in, but usually, even if the student doesn't have any of those, they provide it anyway. So I would probably say we should like keep the like certain folders and stuff in certain classes, and then just have something to carry, like your laptop or something. So I probably wouldn't say like a whole backpack giveaway. I would probably say like maybe like give away a free laptop or something, or just give away something that kids will usually like actually use in their yeah.
I don't know. I still sometimes have to use notebooks in my classes, but my biggest like gripe, I guess, with the current like stuff that's handed out would be stuff like the Chromebooks we get don't tend to be great. I know a lot of students who had issues like doing stuff for classes because they're having issues with the hardware on the Chromebooks, which they can't really do anything about. So they definitely need to improve the quality of some of the stuff they are handing out to students already. I feel like that's a pretty big issue.
Well, I would also say laptop because that's kind of like a given. But something else I feel like that's really important would be like a book. Maybe not a book about like anything specific, but mainly not mental health or whatever, but like habits that are very important that people should have. Things like books that will teach them about social awareness, having like, I don't know, social literacy, is that a thing? But things like that, or there's even this book called like Atomic Habits, and I feel like books like that are so important, and they can teach you a lot more about yourself and also how to like navigate the world in general. So yeah, and then anything else that they need, I would just ask them.
Thank you. All right, I think we got our one
last comment.
Final comment.
All right, for sure. They said last comment and last one, but it's a little bit of African dictatorship here, so I'll have my comments anyways. So good evening, everyone. My comment, I first of all just want to thank all the amazing students who are doing this. My comment is mostly for the parents, the community leaders, and everyone else in this room. Because we've heard the students and they've frankly done their job, which is tell us what they need. And doing the work rests on us. And right now in the state of Colorado, we have the greatest opportunity to change our education system. There are 5 different task forces around education in the state, ranging from school transportation, accountability, the ways our schools are funded, to even the way bridging the gap between our K-12 system and our post-secondary system. So I would urge each and every single one of you in this room, whether you are a parent, whether you are just a community member, whether you are an educator, to look into each one of those, see who's representing you, and reach out to them and make sure that your voice is heard. Because a lot of us are not represented in those rooms, and now as we are talking, people are gathering to change that system. And we can talk all we want, but the change has to be at the state level, the change has to be legislatively done, and right now people are doing it, and we have an opportunity to make sure that our kids' voices are heard by making sure that we go up to them and making sure that we are at the table. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. This has been an amazing conversation. I've been given the signal for the last 30 minutes for the last 2 comments. So that alone tells you how engaged each one of you are, and we appreciate it. You know, our students want to be heard. We need to listen more. We need to find creative ways to be more engaged with each other. You know, those are the certain topics and themes that came out through tonight's conversation. And I encourage you that the conversation does not end here. One of the things that our panelists mentioned clearly was, what do we do next? What's our next step? What's our next action? How do we take this out tonight, out into the community, and share this message and encourage everyone that you come across with, and share the importance of listening to our students and learning from them. So thank you very much. Have a great evening. I'm going to actually pass you on to Usman for our final remarks. Thank you.
Awesome. Again, thank you all for being here tonight. But a special thanks to these amazing panelists and students. So one more round of applause for them. You heard from Mr. Omar, you heard from the students, we've heard some from parents, I did not hear from anybody that's elected official in here.
You asked them to listen, bro.
But yeah, I did. I did ask them to listen, but I wanted to hear a comment. But one thing I want to say, as Amadou mentioned, they're making laws and policies that affect us every day, and we're not over there to make those decisions. We're not in that room, we're not in those conversations. Student voices are not being heard, parent voices are not being heard, community voices are not being heard. What are we going to do? We sit here, talk and talk and talk. Hear us now is the theme tonight. We've listened. What are we going to do? What are the next steps? Because it seems, as the kid says, it's repetitive. It happens over and over and over again. But nothing is changing. Hulay just said, 100 years, it seems like it's the same thing happening. Avery says he was shut down by a teacher. Razan said she met a student that was playing the violin, and that student's now dead. Jaden talked about some of the opportunities that he has at his school. And I go back to that point. Conversations, but nothing happens. Nothing happens. We elect these officials and we forget about everything else. When it's campaign season, they come around and talk about all these great stuff. But we also have a responsibility as parents, as students, to hold them accountable. And I want each one of us in here to think about what these students said. I want the students to think about it as well. What can we do right now? Hear us now to make those changes. I'm tired of these conversations. I tell people that I'm fatigued about these conversations because it happens over and over again and nothing happens. There's state board meetings that happen. There's stuff that happens at the Capitol. There's Colorado State Capitol every day. Education laws that are being passed. Are we there? Is the community there? Are you calling your neighbor? Are you calling the other parents to come listen? That's the basic steps we could do as parents and community members. And I challenge each person in this room. There's a lot of things that was learned here tonight. That was a lot of things that were heard here tonight. What are we going to do? We all have a point. We all have something to offer for our future generations. If that's safety, excellence in our schools, holding each other accountable, it starts here. I wanted to start here. We're going to continue these conversations. But if we're not there when those decisions are happening, nothing's changing. It's just a cycle. But as we conclude today, I just want to thank you guys all for joining us this evening. And thank you to the amazing students. Thank you to Omar. And thank you to you guys for adding to this conversation. We'll continue this conversation. And as we continue as well, African Impact is not finished yet. We're halfway there. Next week at this same space, I want to ask a question real quick. How many of you guys own a business? Or know anybody that owns a business? I see a lot of hands in this room. It's the Business Summit. We have business leaders, we have business experts that are going to be here talking about opportunities for small business owners. You can let a community member know that can help grow their business. So again, next week here for Business Summit. And we'll continue to break barriers. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss the scalers. Papa talked about the Unity Poem. I don't know if you guys were there last Saturday. That was beautiful. That was powerful. And that's what this committee is about. Bringing all of us together. Breaking those barriers amongst us that's been divided amongst us for a long time and keeping us divided. If we bring all these communities together, imagine what we could do in education for our children.